And really, one of the most mysterious ties I've ever encountered, and I still don't understand it, is this one. And it's not a black tie, it's not a white tie, it's just a tie that kind of fades out of itself, or loses interest in itself, or can't figure out where it wants to go or what it wants to be. And so yeah, so I like the tie. It kind of disappears into this chaos. Okay. So the family was eating dinner together, and at the end, everybody had had their brownie, and there was one brownie left, and all of the kids were looking at it. And the father said, hold on. This brownie is going to go to whoever always listens to mommy and does just what she says and never talks back. Now, who should get the brownie? And the kids all said, yes, we know what you're saying, Dad, you get the brownie. Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. Bring your brokenness and bring your power. Bring your fatigue, your early morning aches, and your energy, your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, for here you need not hide nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated, where compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Today, we have a special guest. I brought a service assistant. This is my son Jackson, and he is going to lead us in the candle lighting. Do you need a microphone?
I feel like you just said that. It's okay. I'll project. It's all right.
Oh, okay. Well, come. Okay, come.
Will now lead us in the lighting of the chalice. May the light we now kindle inspire us, not.
It's all right. We're doing great. Let's lead us a little bit slower. You don't have to light it till after we.
Sorry. Apologize. All right. May the light we now kindle inspire us, not to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of truth.
650. Number 650, and Jackson is going to be.
This is personally one of my favorites. This is number 650, Cherish Your Doubts. You are reading the italicized text, and I will read the unitalicized text. Of course. Thank you. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth. A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief. Let no one fear for the truth that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief. For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. But as for those who fear, not doubt, and know its use, are founded on rock. Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help. Robert T. Weston. Thank you for joining me in the responsive reading number 650. Thank you.
The center of this service, and really I think the heart of this service, is when we share our joys and concerns. This is when we remember that this congregation is not a church with one leader. This is a congregation in which all of us are leaders and all of us are members. And so we take this time in the center of our service when any or all of us can come up, share a special joy, a special sorrow, a special fear or concern that's on our mind this week. And I think we find that joys, when we share them, are magnified, and sorrows, when we share them, are lightened. So please take a moment, think about if there's something you'd like to share, and if you do, please come up, and the microphone is here, and then you're welcome to light a candle in our font.
There's a lovely lady who joins us every week on Zoom. She lives in California, and she came to the church for many years. Her name is Francie Coleman. I'm sure a lot of you know her name. And she sent a very nice donation, a wonderful donation for our pledge drive. And she wrote this long note, which I thought I'd read to you. Dear Teresa and Patty, thank you and everyone at Fun for all you do to keep Niagara UU running so smooth. My memories run deep and sweet from the 70s and 80s as a former member with family Joel and Sabrina. I will so miss dear Betsy. She so represents all that is at Fun and always will be. I like to think she's our Fun guardian angel now. Shine on, Betsy, with a heart. Will there be any memorial gift set up for Betsy? Please let me know. I've added some in my donation here. So thankful for Zoom and all your helpers, Bill, Peter, etc., for making it happen. I catch it and memories before my local OCUU church here. Keep on keeping on, everyone. Love and virtual hugs, Francie Coleman.
morning. Well, my mother's move, this is on, went smoothly. Her belongings came, she was here, but she's been staying with me in my studio. And I had her belongings moved from Albany on Tuesday, and that went smoothly. And I was able to get a couple of very nice antiques out of the deal. And then I just want to share, this is my favorite time of year because spring to me, the perfect is just starting to be very nice. And I love the colors and the flowers and the symbolism of rebirth. So I did go to, one of my traditions is to go to the Broadway market. And so I'm a little bit Polish this time of year. They, of course, had polka music, and I bought a couple Ukrainian eggs. And, it was just really kind of a joyous thing to do. I bought a hyacinth, so my apartment's smelling nice. So tonight I will sleep in my own bed. Thank you.
My name is Marshall, and I'm here with my husband Eric today. I've been a resident of Niagara Falls for about a year. And prior to that, I lived in Leviathan, New York for 37 years. Eric is a resident of Toronto, and that's where I met him 25 years ago. And I'm petitioning the government of the United States to allow him to come and be a permanent resident here in the United States. I applied in March of last year, and it's taking a while. And trying to determine exactly what the status is on that is kind of difficult. But the only thing that we want to do is develop a sense of patience and trying to keep a positive attitude and trying to think of an outcome that is going to be advantageous for us instead of going down to a sea of negativity, so to speak. So we support each other, and we're just happy with the time that we had. I'm originally from Utah, New York. Eric is originally from country Jamaica, and he's been living in Canada for decades now. We're looking to develop a sense of community in Niagara Falls, and I was a member of the UU Church in Leviathan, and very, very happy about the sense of inclusivity that the Unitarian portrays to the community. And I'm also really pleased with the way that the UU Church seems to be accepting all the religions and finding the commonality between all of them that celebrates the human condition. So I wanted to thank everyone here for being welcoming. And it's been a while since I've actually been in a church, to be honest with you. And it feels good. So thank you for being open. Yes. Where were you married? Were you both married here? In Toronto. You have to do it again here. That is fun. I know I'm originally from Canada, but I'm North American native. And my significant other, his job
Thank you.
And Francie is on Zoom. She wanted to say something.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for reading my little note. I'm surprised. Thank you. I have a joy. My daughter Sabrina was one of the presenters at the Oncology Nurses Society Congress in Denver this weekend. She spoke, she did a presentation on clinical studies for breast cancer patients, which is her specialty. Really happy for her and proud of her, doing good work. Thank you.
I'm going to light one more candle for those joys and sorrows that we are still holding inside today. And this is the offertory where we share our gifts for the work of this church. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing my heart, all the stirrings of compassion. Sets me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. sea monsters. Is my microphone not on? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Okay. So I was reminded of this story. In the biblical book of Job, God is hanging out with one of his angels, the one whose job it is to be disagreeable. Now, this was a tradition since ancient Near Eastern kings were always surrounded by cronies and yes men and spin doctors. They had to have one advisor in the cabinet whose job it was to take the other side of the debate. And this advisory position was called Satan. And it's from this word we get Satan, but this was centuries before Christians invented the devil, who exists to make the church look good by comparison. Anyway, God was chatting with his buddy, the angel Satan, and said, look at this great guy who loves me no matter what, or whatnot. And the angel said, maybe he only loves you because you're always giving him stuff, but I'll bet that if it was all stripped away, he would curse you. So God says, go for it. And Job loses everything. Lock, stock, and barrel. Fire from the sky burns his flocks of sheep. A house collapses on his children, and his body breaks out in a rash. The poor guy is left with nothing but a piece of broken pottery to scratch his itches with. And then his 3 best friends show up, and they try to talk him to death for like 39 chapters. And when he's withstood all this without renouncing his faith, God shows up and gives this long speech to let this guy know how small he is, and the whole thing ramps up to a big fish story, like big fish of biblical proportions, about how God once caught this gigantic, unholy mackerel. It goes on and on and on. I've edited this down to a third of its length, and still, it's going to seem lengthy. In Job chapter 41, the Lord says, can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook, or press down its tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope in its nose, or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it make supplications to you? Will it speak soft words to you? Will you play with it like with a bird, or will you put it on a leash for your little girls? Any hope of capturing it will be disappointed. Were not even the gods overwhelmed at the sight of it? I will not keep silence about its limbs, or its mighty strength, or its splendid frame. Who can strip off its outer garment? It sneezes forth light, and out of its nostrils comes smoke, as from a boiling pot. Its breath kindles coals, and a flame comes out of its mouth. On earth it has no equal, a creature without fear. Now, in the story, a great sea beast is not Job's problem. It's not the Leviathan that killed his children and flocks and afflicted his skin with boils and whatnot. It's the Satan, this angel. Or really, since God empowered the angel to torment this innocent man, Job's problem is God. More specifically, God's pride. There was no reason for an enlightened deity to take such offense and to accept this bet. God actually won the bet, but nonetheless had to show up, and we really have to hand it to Job, because he's been totally ruined, and now he's got to sit through God's endless story about he once caught a fish this big. And when God says this big, he can reach really, really far. I'm just kidding. That wasn't a Bible quote. Battling a sea monster was like a rite of passage for young storm gods. Baal, the indigenous Canaanite lightning god, had to battle Yam, the primeval sea. Or in one version, his sister had to do it for him, but then Baal got the credit. Ra, the Egyptian god, had to battle the serpent Apep, the chaos monster that tried to swallow the sun each day. Marduk, the Babylonian thunderlord, had to battle the saltwater goddess Tiamat. his own grandmother, who had taken the form of a giant crustacean. And he split her to pieces like a clamshell, and half became the platter-shaped world, and the other half became the dome of the sky. This, I think, is actually the clearest of these ancient stories, because Mumu Tiamat, Mother Ocean, was the primeval sea, the original great power of creation. And Marduk's battle with the primal goddess is clearly a sign of a male mutiny, after which the defeated fertility goddess becomes a symbol of destructive chaos, while the warrior god becomes the symbol of destructive order, like the Hydra story or any number of Greek mythical monster battles. When we hear the Leviathan story, we may first envision the sea monster as male, but the Leviathan could represent some prehistoric goddess. Still, for those of us who remember the old claymation Clash of the Titans and smirked at the line, "Release the Kraken," it can be hard to take the Leviathan story very seriously. But this was a really big deal, the Leviathan fight. It was a major claim to fame back when... All right, now this is going to be hard to explain, but go with me here. All right, the idea of God as the calculating master craftsman of the clockwork universe is just a couple of centuries old. Before that, God had been more like a potter who took the primeval muck and shaped a large clay platter, the flat earth, which for a long time was just the Middle East. And before that, God had been the local thunder boss of Israel, a nation the size of New Jersey. And it was kind of a dump like New Jersey. But at least it wasn't a total mess. I can say that because I'm from New Jersey. But at least it wasn't a total mess, because God kept the chaos of the sea at bay by battling this monster. So before the local God of Israel became a global franchise, the Leviathan fight had been a really big deal. But as the Bible developed and the conception of God grew more powerful, it became undignified to envision him mud wrestling this monster with all of creation at stake. The temple priesthood didn't want King Kong versus Godzilla, or King God versus Kongzilla, or whatever. They were chanting priests, not screaming wrestling fans. So they downplayed this Clash of the Titans until it sort of just fell into the background. And finally, they drafted their masterpiece. The temple priesthood finally wrote, after many, many drafts that appear in the Bible, they finally wrote the 7-day creation story, where the master builder dictated the development from chaos to creation in a calm, orderly manner. In that story, God doesn't even have to get his hands dirty. He doesn't need hands at all. He just gives instructions, then inspects and says, "It is good, it is good, it is good." If we read that story closely, sea monsters are actually listed among the projects that are made in that week. But that's all part of the plan. They pass inspection with never a mention of any hazard or friction. And the priesthood who wrote this new and improved creation story got final editorial control over the Torah, so they put their story first. And then the whole finalized Torah got retrojected back into the dawn of time, every jot and tittle inevitably predestined, so that these stories in this sequence became older than the earth itself. Now that's kind of a lot to keep in mind. Some of us believe this and some of us don't. But I think we still have a hard time imagining that the Israelite conception of creation was fluid for centuries. It drifted through phases for hundreds of years before getting set in stone as timeless scripture. So the present sequencing of the stories creates this odd situation, because now when we encounter the Leviathan legend in the book of Job or Psalms and Isaiah, we say, wait a minute, didn't God make this sea monster and say that it was good? So why all this gladiatorial thrashing and slashing and bashing now? In some scriptural texts, it has been killed and dismembered in the past, its carcass left out for the scavengers. And then in other biblical texts, it's still alive out there. Some rabbinic commentators have sought to smooth this inconsistency by saying that maybe there were two Leviathans, and God killed the female and castrated the male, which then seems really cruel. Or some say it was a catch and release, and that God kept this beast as a pet that he then plays with for a couple hours each day, fattening it up for a big fish fry to feed the righteous in the world to come. But whatever this story meant, however the battle turned out, we have to remember this was all before the invention of the devil. This was before the great beast of Babylon. This was long before the introduction of religion's all-time greatest nemesis, the snooze button. Religion's battle against the primeval sea monster can sound like a phase from some mythical past, but it continues into the present. These days, the battle is waged in courtrooms and classrooms, religion versus evolution, the theory that all life began in the primeval ocean. That's the shapeless sea monster that Christianity is fighting today. And it's a good fight, a worthy cause, because if we were to accept that all organisms are descended from the same original single-celled organism, the primates and pine trees, the portobellos and pond scum, the pufferfish and pests, we would have to acknowledge them as our distant cousins, which is hard, because I have a hard enough time even believing that we're related to Pennsylvanians. But if we acknowledge that kinship, that interconnection, even interdependence, then we would have to seriously reconsider the way that the human race goes stomping around the community of life. And that's a pretty daunting prospect. It's much easier to keep fighting a mythical sea monster, a formless darkness on the face of the deep. The Inuit, indigenous peoples of Alaska and parts of Siberia, believe that the icy depths of the ocean are ruled by the sea mother, Sedna. Various tribes have varying stories about her origin. Most agree that she was a giantess, either disobedient or dangerous to her father, so he cut off her fingers and she sank into the dark waters. And her fingers became the whales and seals, whom she still commands, and if the humans disrespect her, she will withdraw them all so far under the ice that the hunters will come home empty-handed and starve. They say this ocean goddess looks like a merwhale, and that once a year, a shaman must enter in a trance and send his spirit deep into the underworld to comb her hair. Well, that's a nice sea monster story. Instead of battling the chaos, you learn to balance with it. Compared with all these mythical battles, all these mythical battles sound kind of silly, like Bigfoot versus the Loch Ness Monster. In our war to tame nature, it becomes clear that it's not the great white whales that pose the great danger. It's the mad Captain Ahabs of industry and politics. Mother Nature doesn't need to be bludgeoned to death. She just wants us to comb her hair every now and then. Well, that sounds good, except that means now I've got to find the comb that got swept away from my little bathroom island. So that was it. I told you the ending was going to be island. That's how I got there. Our closing hymn will be number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like the angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard nights.
Do we have any announcements today?
Next week is Easter, and we're going to have our annual Easter egg, adult Easter egg hunt. I recommend not to bring any children. So, if you do, let me know so we could, so I'm prepared. I'll bring candy if there's children that come. No. So it's adults only, over 21 and over, and most of you don't get offended. So it's gonna be fun.
Quick update on the pledge drive. We are $2,000 below last year, and we don't have all our participants, so it looks like we're going to be here another year.
Good, and I'm excited to announce that about a half hour after the service, I'll be teaching an adult education session, and we'll be looking at some Native American customs from the Midwest. Together we have sanctified this space. If you have found strength and comfort here, share some out there. They need it. Remember that you are blessed, and you are a blessing, and you are not alone. Jackson is going to lead us in the words of extinguishing the chalice.
We extinguish
This chalice
not alike to unity, like a fire commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Okay, so I was upstairs before I came down here. Well, of course I was. Where else would I be? But I was looking for one of my favorite villain songs, of which I couldn't find. I've left it somewhere. But I did find it on the phone. But this means I'm going to play with one hand and scroll with the, I won't do the whole thing because it's a bit lengthy. I admit that in the past, I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch. But I find that nowadays I've mended all my ways, repented, seen the light, and made the switch. True, yes, I fortunately know a little magic. It's a talent I always have possessed. And here lately, please don't laugh, I use it on behalf of the miserable, the lonely, and depressed, pathetic, poor, unfortunate souls in pain, in need. This one longing to be thinner, this one wants to get a girl. And do I help them? Oh, yes, yes, indeed. These poor, unfortunate souls. That's my Leviathan song.